Okay, so Edge Magazine just released their review of ARMS about 40 days before the release of the game, and incredibly this is actually the first official review of the game, unless I somehow missed a major news source, but even if I did, I took the liberty of buying a copy so that I could discuss it with all of you. I want to clarify that I'm not going to talk about every little detail of the review because Edge is a great publication and I don't want to just plagiarize everything they've said, so if you want to read the 10-page spread devoted to ARMS and ARMS alone, there's a link to buy the issue down in the description. I'm also going to mention that in case you didn't know, ARMS was featured on the cover of the magazine itself, so that's awesome. I love both of the covers they made for it, they both look incredible. So the first thing that the article points out, and this point is reiterated throughout the article, is that this is very much a Nintendo game. It doesn't exactly fit into one genre as we've seen with the countless other Nintendo games like Pikmin, Splatoon, Mario Kart. None of them are really sandwiched into one genre. They're free to move around and express themselves between genres, and this is really one of the biggest strengths for Nintendo games, at least in my opinion. And the case is similar with ARMS. Yes, it's a fighting game, but it's also kind of a shooting game. Despite being both of these, it's really neither at the same time. I mean, when have you played a shooting game where the projectiles were able to fine-tune their trajectories or be knocked down, grabbed with, etc.? I addressed that in my More Than Wii Boxing video, so it's nice to see it acknowledged in this article as well. One thing to keep in mind is, true to Nintendo fashion, fun is always going to be a priority over trendiness or niche marketing. And although the developer of the game says he doesn't actually consider fighting games niche, he still admits that, as was the case with the Smash Bros. Games, they need to strike a larger audience than just hardcore gamers. Nintendo games are supposed to be fun for everyone, not just a select few. That being said, Edge Magazine makes it very clear that this game works on a competitive level. They're constantly making references to esports and competitive gaming, musing about how ARMS would look up on a big stage with players flinging their fists around. And that's another point I want to bring up, the controls. Within this article lays the coveted button mapping for motion controls that everyone who follows ARMS news has been looking for. I won't talk about the buttons specifically, I'll leave that for you to find out should you buy the magazine. But I will say that for me personally, the controls seem a little odd. I'm sure they had their reasons for mapping the controls the way that they did, but there's just some odd design choice when it comes to how controller play works with ARMS. On top of that, the article also made a point to say that ARMS just doesn't feel like ARMS when you aren't playing with the motion controls. The whole appeal of the game is to punch, angle, and physically block your opponent. Sure, you can get the job done with a Pro Controller, 2 Joy-Con, or even a single Joy-Con, but the core experience just isn't the same. They also mention that it's a little difficult to get the same level of precision that you get with the motion controls, which is interesting because usually it's the opposite way. Either way, I'm happy to see that the motion controls will probably take the main stage on a competitive level. The game looks and feels more interesting that way in my opinion, and the writers of the article also, as far as I'm aware, had access to the full game instead of the demo we've seen around events. One thing they've mentioned is that although they couldn't give away specifics, that earning in-game currency will give you the ability to amass hundreds of different ARM combinations. They also couldn't talk about the character roster, but assured us that there were more than we're aware of. The developer also stated that more characters would be released frequently. I'm assuming he meant after release. It would really break my heart if they made you pay for extra characters, so fingers crossed that's not the case. The next thing I want to talk about is the AI in the game. I don't really know if this is the case, but the article made the CPUs in ARMS out to be absolute beasts. They said that even against a higher level Ninjara, they lost without even being able to land a single hit. And later on, when talking about playtesting, the developers stated that in order to balance and tweak the game, they were able to compile all the fighting data from other people working on the game and set the game to run all night with the CPUs battling each other. And this method of playtesting is really cool, and it sounds like higher level players may have an actual challenge to face when practicing against a computer alone. The last thing I want to bring up from the article is that they mention there are items you can turn on and off that come flying down onto the stage. One that heals you, one that charges your super, and one that just explodes. There may be more, but that's all they mentioned. This is something else that I pointed out from the Nintendo Direct footage. Oh, and the items can be turned on and off if that wasn't clear already. So all in all, it seems that Edge Magazine was very impressed with ARMS and couldn't get enough of it. The game is able to cater to high-level, competitive gamers, while still being accessible to people who just want to play a fun game. The amount of depth between the enormous number of ARMS and the characters with all the special abilities gives this game a great balance between fundamental rock, paper, scissors, and the ability to seek out new strategies, push the boundaries of the game, and find out what ARMS can do. This article only got me even more hyped for the game, and I hope it did the same for you. But that's all I got for this video, so be sure to subscribe for more ARMS news, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.